Are you starting a church and wondering if you should file for tax-exempt status? Give me the next 5 minutes, and I will walk you through exactly what you need to consider, both the pros and the cons, of actually applying for 501c3 status from the IRS. Hey, I'm Dan Johnson, and I've helped over 30 entrepreneurs launch their dream nonprofit, as well as raised almost $3.5 million for early stage nonprofits. And one of the challenges that new nonprofit leaders who are starting a church have is wondering, should they actually apply for tax-exempt status? Churches are one of the oldest organizations in existence, and by default, as a church, you have tax-exempt status. But here are some of the reasons you might want to apply anyway, and here are some of the cons of actually making that application. So when you go and apply for nonprofit status, you get a letter from the IRS saying you are in fact tax exempt, and that can help in several ways. Number one is it helps establish donor trust. Donors are far more likely to trust your organization and donate large amounts of money if they can see a letter proving that you are tax exempt. And many donors' accountants will require that letter for their tax exempt purposes. So if you intend on getting bigger gifts from donors, such as $1,000, $10,000, or $100,000, you may want to get that letter anyway. The second thing is if your nonprofit has grants as part of its strategy, and your church intends to get funded by those grants, the vast majority of grants will require you to present your IRS 501c3 letter. The third is discounts and promotions. When corporations want to give back, they often do so to a nonprofit, and they'll primarily only give back to organizations with 501c3 status and proof of it. If you do not get your 501c3 status, you could be missing out on things like $10,000 in free ad grants per month from Google, free design software from Canva, free project management software from Monday, and thousands of other discounts that are only available to nonprofits that are registered with the IRS. Those are the main reasons that you would want to file as a church with the IRS. It is primarily around making sure that you have the most transparency and trust around your organization. The cons to consider, though, there are a couple of key cons to consider in getting your 501c3 status as a church. The first is 501c3 status limits what is called private inurement. And what that means is you have to be aware of conflicts of interest where the church might directly benefit a board member, as that, for a 501c3, is illegal. The second is lobbying. Your church, if it were to become a 501c3 nonprofit, would be very limited in what legislation you could advocate for or against. In fact, you're limited to an insubstantial amount of lobbying, very little, 2 to 5% of your activities. And third, churches who apply for 501c3 status are restricted from endorsing or opposing political candidates in any way, shape, or form. You cannot provide any value, so you cannot have a candidate for office come speak and encourage voters to benefit that candidate. You cannot offer them a free table at your organization. You cannot do anything related to opposing or supporting candidates for public office. You can do very little supporting or opposing issues. But those are the three main cons that every 501c3 goes through. Now, if you are a church, you can decide whether you want to get your 501c3 status, which I do tend to recommend. It builds trust, it builds legitimacy, and it sets you up for the rest of your church's existence with a legitimate verified status. Or you can go without your 501c3 status and keep some of the autonomy and freedom that you have as a church in engaging in politics and endorsing political candidates. Regardless of which one is right for you, if you want to learn what it takes to get your 501c3 status as a church, just drop me below this video and I will give you my exempt list for churches. This is a checklist that helps you understand what you need to do to get 501c3 status for your church. And of course, if you have any questions, leave a comment below this video and I will respond. See you in the next video.